find me. I'm wearing the red lanyard because I'm first aid trained and fire trained. At least I was last time I checked. There are no drills, no fire drills planned tonight. That'd be a bit weird. So we're not expecting anything. We do have the main stairwell exit just sort of behind me. There is also a fire exit over in the back corner. And the meeting point is kind of like just kind of outside, I would say, whilst we phone people, because I don't know what to do with that situation. Cool. Yeah, the accessibility-wise, if anyone would need assistance going downstairs, or obviously can't use the lifts in a fire alarm, so let us know. And the toilets are actually just behind Luca there, just the little door behind there. Yeah, the one more thing I'll say, which isn't really a safety thing per se, but the front door that let you in, the kind of open doors, that actually like automatically locks for visitors after, well, now. So if you do need to go outside during the talks at any point, whether it's a call or like something, come find me, because I have the little thing that will let you back in. Otherwise you'll be locked outside for sure. At least take your phone or tell somebody else, something like that. Cool. Okie dokes. So the next thing up is a quick sort of, I say, announcement from James over here, who will be coming up. This is James Harding. He is running the speaker launchpad. So I'll switch over to you and hand you the mic.
Thanks. Hello, everyone. I'm James T. Harding. I'm an engineer at KPV Lab over in Edinburgh, and I'm one of the informal organisers of Edinburgh JavaScript, which is the sister meetup to the one we are at right at this moment. I'm here to tell you about the Scottish Technology Club Speaker Launchpad, the QR code for which is on the screen to my right, your left. Many people struggle with speaking in public for lots of reasons, practical and emotional. If that's you, you are not alone, and this is your sign from the universe. It's time to take the plunge, do your first talk, or do another talk with more support and take part in our Speaker Launchpad. This is a program for anybody who think they'd benefit from having some support while they prepare a talk. The talk that you do could be of any length, from 5 minutes to a full technical talk. That's up to you, and you don't need to know what the talk will be in advance, because we can work with you to help decide what the talk will be as suits you. If you sign up, you'll receive one-to-one mentorship, which is tailored to what you specifically need. So this could include preparing pitches, talking to event organisers, negotiating video conferencing software, structuring your talk, practicing, getting feedback. Whatever is useful for you, that's what we want to provide. We know that many of the access issues relating to public speaking disproportionately affect people who are already underrepresented in the tech industry. So we've managed to get a small budget to pay for childcare, travel, and things like that to help people to access speaking and access the benefits that come from giving a technical talk, like networking, career development, and giving back to the community that you're benefiting from right now. If you're interested in taking part, please scan that QR code or visit scottishtechnology.club/launchpad, where you can register to take part in the first tranche of talks. If you're not a likely participant, then I have a special favour to ask of you, which is that I'd like you to think of somebody you think should participate and personally point them towards this. The difference between seeing an advert go past and having someone specifically recommend it to you and support you could be the push that somebody needs to have the confidence to sign up. Thanks for the privilege of your time. I look forward to speaking to you during the break and at the end if you have any questions.
Hello, it's me again. Yeah, so just a couple more things to mention before we get Michael up. As I kind of pointed to earlier, there's a Scottish Technology Club poster here, has a wonderful QR code. That will take you to the email bulletin. I don't know if anyone else has already signed up, but I get that. It's every Monday, right? And it's great. I look forward to it every Monday. It's a little... Really? Wow. He writes it every Monday morning himself. Fantastic. So yeah, highly recommend signing up for that. It's really interesting, actually. We got the Discord, of course. I'm in there as well. So if you're ever wanting to network with people afterwards, there's quite a few people here that I've spoke to before that I know are in the Discord. So you'll probably see a couple of us in there. And the Patreon, of course. Now, the Patreon is a fantastic new way to sort of support GlasgowJS and EdinburghJS going onwards. So if you're able to, I'm sure that would be greatly appreciated by the team. Now, that's kind of me finished waffling. Oh, I'll mention one more thing. Sorry, I'm not going to do this all night. We do go to the pub afterwards. I go to the pub. I know Sergio and a few other people that I keep seeing here all go to the pub afterwards and just kind of blether. Some people talk about how they hate Tailwind CSS. Some people talk about how they love Tailwind CSS. There's loads of different conversations. It's not just Tailwind CSS. But yeah, feel free to join. If you've been to the pub before at GlasgowJS, put your hand up so I can see a couple people. Oh, look, there you go. It won't just be me. It won't just be me. So yeah, feel free to join. We usually go to the Wetherspoons. It's kind of within eyesight from here. I never remember the name, but just follow the crowd on the way out. It's a good time. So without any further ado, I'd like to welcome up Michael Hayes. Now, Michael Hayes runs the Rookie Oven Meetup. He runs AddJam, and he'll be talking about mobile apps, React Native, and the web platform. So a warm round of applause for Michael.
Cool. Yeah, so talk tonight about does it need to be a mobile app? So yeah, I'm co-founder of AddJam. We make products for healthcare, mobility, and education. We've been doing that since 2014. And most of our work is Ruby on Rails, React, and React Native. Of the mobile apps, of the products that we ship, I'd say 60% of them are mobile apps on iOS and Android. And by a mobile app, I mean something you download from the App Store or the Play Store. And all of those apps, the majority of them, more than 90%, are React Native. We've been using React Native since 2015, since basically React Native started being a thing. Loads of apps were shipped to production, been used by thousands of people. And yeah, it's you write in JavaScript, TypeScript, but it'll run as a native app. You've got an app you download from the app stores. So ideally, tonight, what we'll do is challenge some assumptions, give ammunition to developers, product owners, or whoever who's having a client conversation with someone who's adamant they need a mobile app. And then actually, sometimes native makes sense. So give some examples of when we actually want to use a native app. So hands up, first of all, folk in the room who have made an app, a mobile app. Nice, decent amount. How many people have done that with React Native or not so many? How many people have done it with native, Objective-C, Swift? So, you know, as I said, this is our bread and butter, and we quite often get people coming along, they're adamant, I need a mobile app. And then my response is typically, grumpy cat, no we don't. A lot of people, it's the first thing to say, I need an app. And as we talk to them, you don't actually need an app. So you can do an awful lot on the web. So next few slides, I've got a bit of a test. And actually, it's a test for myself, because when I made these slides, I did it quickly, and I can't remember which one's which. One of these is a web app. One of them is a native app. That's ChatGPT. Anyone guessing which is which? Bingo. I think the only giveaway is that the dynamic island, the screen doesn't extend all the way to the top on the right-hand one. It's like really close. YouTube, any guesses on this one? Yeah, one on the left. Again, like indistinguishable. It certainly is like a user experience like this. There's things that you would maybe be able to do on the native app that you can't do on a web app. And then the platform formerly known as Twitter. The one on the right is the web app. So I'll have clients saying to me, "We need a mobile app," and I'll show these examples. But still, we need an app. And the common things that people will come back with is we need to use location, we need to use push notifications, we need to use sensors offline. But in 2025, you can use geolocation on modern mobile browsers. Push notifications. iOS is a little bit funky coloured there because it has to be a pinned app, pinned to your home screen. But yeah, you can do push notifications through the web on iOS. Device motion, local storage. You could do like so much with a web browser in 2025. So you can play. That's maybe a bit of an obvious one, but you can play tons of media. You can play video. You can play audio. Upload files. There's game engines like Phaser, Godot. You've got so much capability in a modern browser. There is a cheeky little asterisk up there. Safari usually lags behind, particularly things like Bluetooth and some of the VR, XR stuff. But still, how many people are actually needing to capitalize on a mobile app to do basic CRUD stuff? So yeah, we often go through this process, and at this point, folk are still adamant needs to be a mobile app. So some more considerations to think about. App Store optimization. Everyone loves an acronym. App Store optimization is the equivalent of doing SEO. So SEO, you're trying to pump yourself up to the search listings to get eyeballs and customers. Same with the App Store. When you get into the app stores, there's a whole different field of optimizing for discovery. It's quite challenging. It's hard to iterate and see progress in your rankings. It takes a lot of time to get yourself up there. There's a stat that goes around that 70% of app downloads come from the App Store directly through search. So ASO is like a huge thing to consider when you're choosing whether to do web or mobile, and be informed about why you're doing it. When you get somebody on an app, like I'm sure people in the room have done this, that you download an app, it sits there on your home screen with a wee blue dot, at least on iOS, it sits there with a wee blue dot next to it, and you never open it. Like I downloaded Destiny Rising last week and I've still not opened it. You see these drop-offs from number of downloads to number of active users. There's a drop-off, so you need to be considerate of that. The build process on app stores as well. You ship a bug to production on a web app, that's fine, just do a new build and it'll be there. With a mobile app, you go through a review process and you get your build process is longer, get it out, people need to download the update. It's just a little bit more laborious to get stuff out. You can use things like code push to help get JS bundles out, but still you're not able to iterate as quickly as you can with the web. And then as part of that, you've got the walled gardens. So iOS gets a lot of criticism for Apple for the App Store and the review process and the walled garden that they operate. I actually, in my experience, have more problem with the Play Store. We had an app one time that we were doing it for a client, and the app got rejected for breach of our client's copyright. I'm like, well, we've got permission. This is their app on their App Store account. And it took like 2 weeks to get it resolved. Like, the Play Store is, computer says no. Whereas with the App Store, there's an App Store team you can talk with. It's a human reviewer that you can liaise with. But yeah, the review process is a total pain point. You can get rejected, and that's, Epic Games, Spotify are in the news all the time, arguing with Apple. Play Store's just as bad. So yeah, do we really need a mobile app? Why would you, after everything I've said? Well, actually, you do. So when does it make sense to build a mobile app? So And before I continue, I should say that this is coming from my perspective as someone that makes apps using React Native. There's lots of ways to get your product out on the app stores. You use Ionic, you could use Flutter, you could build native. But I think a lot of the same principles I'm talking about would copy across. So the big reason, number one, well, I say number one reason, there's going to be lots of sub-reasons. But the big reason for doing it is native features. So if you're wanting to, the point at which you're making a mobile app, you should be doing something that you can only do as a mobile app. Otherwise, just ship to the web, just do a web app. So this screen's got a load of examples, but I'll go to talk about a few in particular that we have actively worked on in recent times. There are really strong features that, let's build for mobile. So first one is things like live activities. As an example, here's an EV charging app. Live activities are a great way of showing some passive information. Goes up into your dynamic island on iOS, shows in your lock screen. Good examples of them. Domino's show you your pizza's coming along. Uber, your taxi's coming. One that pains me is the golf app I use, tells me how bad I'm playing as I'm walking around the course. But live activities are a really good feature, a really engaging feature that you can add. Really easy to do with React Native. It's a quick example. There's more on this blog post that I wrote a while back. But the thing here that might scare you is the left-hand side where you're writing some Objective-C. In the age of LLMs, this should be pretty straightforward. But it's totally doable to have these native features in your React Native app. The next one, and what a lot of those names were on that slide a few back, was native API integration. So the two most pertinent ones that we come across are interacting with HealthKit, Google Fit. Both platforms, iOS and Android, have got a host of APIs and capabilities that you can take advantage of as a mobile app that you can't do through a web app. So things like your health, like if you were wanting to get weight and pedometer, you just read it from the health app, or you can write to the health app. Related to that is when you're wanting to do anything with wearables. You're just not going to be able to do anything with wearables unless you're doing mobile apps. There's no browser. There kind of is a browser on Apple Watch, but it's a fudge to use it. You have to use a native app. Same goes for things like CarPlay. It's really prevalent now that people buy a car, they want it to have CarPlay. Apple update their operating system way more times than BMW, Ford, Mercedes, Kia will ever do. So they know how to build software. Other people know how to build cars. I'd rather have these guys doing the software in my car. If you're wanting to take advantage of doing CarPlay, you need to have a native app. And then the biggest reason, perhaps, for doing a mobile app, monetization. And this is something that's very contentious within the industry, but monetization through the App Store, when you're doing in-app purchases, subscriptions through the App Store or the Play Store, Apple take a commission. It's 15% for small businesses, and then it goes to 30%. That's what Spotify and Epic Games are not really happy about. But if you want to have an experience that you get out to people and then an easy way to monetize it, the App Store's actually a pretty good way of doing it. They've already got your credit card detail on record. You just do your biometric authentication and you're subscribed. They handle a lot of the billing process. So it's really easy to get a product out there and start generating revenue. So this is a point of the decision tree where we'll kind of say to a client, well, actually, this is a good reason to be a mobile app because it's a clear way to monetize through subscriptions and app purchases, loot boxes, upgrades, currency, Candy Crush coins or whatever my wife keeps buying. So does it even need to be a mobile app. Actually, sometimes it does. But I would try and steer people away from it unless there's a true core reason that you do want to have a mobile app. Don't just jump to read an app. So is there any questions?
So at this point, before you go to say it, you'll need the microphone because everybody listening from home won't have the microphone. So who was about to raise their hand over here?
Oh,
Thanks for a great talk. I wonder what the tax situation is when you're taking payments through the App Store.
tax situation. I am not an accountant. But I do know the money ends up in my account somehow from them. So that's another pain point that Apple and Google certainly take care of. That they'll charge the tax at the local rate, so you'll adjust the prices and you get your. As far as I understand it, it simplifies things. But I'm not an accountant. But it's one of the benefits, like that 30% that Apple take for a business of a reasonable size. That's an okay cost to your operating. And if you're doing it through Stripe, Stripe would take 2.5% plus 30 cents. And then you have to manage what happens when the card payment fails, what happens when somebody unsubscribes, what happens when you do a refund, Apple take care of all that for you. So for accountancy advice, don't come to me. But it's in my view, it's a cost that is worth paying as a small business. We've had clients in the past that have been allergic to absorbing that 30% fee from Apple, and then had us build an off-platform billing system that doesn't convert anywhere near as well as a in-app purchase experience. So just swallow it.
That's really useful, thank you.
So my question is kind of around how you plan with clients and so on. So if a client comes to you and is like, we need a mobile app and a website, what's your kind of method for building? Do you usually do a website alongside a mobile app, so like essentially compatible functionality? Do you do an API first? Do you iterate on a website first? What's your kind of approach to managing the process to get a product out on mobile?
So it's a good question. There's a lot of nuance in how you could approach that now. We would build an API. We'll have an API and the client we typically would have web and mobile as separate projects. But you could use like Expo or Ionic and have one monolith client that does web and mobile. And our experience quite often, that thing of like wanting to do something particularly native feeling on mobile, you don't want to be, you want that distinction between web and mobile. For us, our approach is to have a Rails API with JSON endpoints that will have open API spec. Client side, React Native, and on the web, we'll use Orville to generate like TanStack hooks. So we've got like an API client generated off the open API spec. So we should have parity across the clients. And then we have a React Native app, and then we'll have a web app using Next or other. Sometimes we actually just have a Rails app, and we just have Rails rendered HTML and JavaScript stimulus and stuff like that. But when we come, some projects when there is a strong need for it to be a native mobile app, we'll start with mobile, and web is the secondary client that we'll come to at some point. So we focus on shipping one. Sometimes it's the opposite, and we start with the web, and then we get to a point of scale that we want to then do mobile. An API should feed both clients.
So do you share a lot of code between? So you're generating like TanStack. What's the thing that you mentioned?
Orville.
Orville.
Yeah.
What does that do?
What?
What does that do?
So you can just give it like an open API, YAML, JSON, and then it can generate an API client for us using TanStack.
Right.
So it makes it, as long as the API is well versioned, or you're particularly YOLO and you So yeah, we can share quite a lot. Well, it's generated code, so you're abstracted from having to deal with the API interaction and caching. You just Orville generates it based on the Open API spec.
Hello. That's really quiet. I don't know why I'm being so quiet.
That's for the live stream.
Oh, okay, that's okay. It's not booming. That's fine. I guess when would you do you use Expo or do you go sort of bare metal React Native, and what's the reason for either way?
Oh, interesting question.
I'm just starting.
So,
I just want flame war to happen. That's all it is. Really.
yeah. So until like the last month, we've been using bare React Native. The kind of direction of travel with React Native seems to be Expo is going to be the default experience that they're wanting people to use. Expo. So we've switched now to like projects from now on. We're generating an Expo project and starting from there. Previously, the preference was always just to have a bare React Native project. Sorry, for anyone that's not familiar with, like, Expo is a abstraction on top of an abstraction on top of, like, it's a framework that allows you to, as a developer, not really have to worry too much about the Xcode and Android project. You can just write your JavaScript and it'll run somewhere eventually for you. We always prefer to have access to the native projects for doing things like your live activities. You can do it with Expo through EAS and build steps. So that's now what we're doing going forward. So yeah, good question, because until now we'd been bare React Native, but now
it's just more for the ease then, because I think it has become quite easy through Expo. Like, a lot of these native APIs are actually got a wrapper around them now, basically. So like we were talking about HealthKit earlier.
Yeah.
Is like the health package, which will speak to Google Fit and Apple Health sort of thing, won't it? So yeah, okay. So it's sort of ease of use is sort of, and you think the direction's going towards sort of Expo being
it seems like that.
the goal to.
I think like in a lot of packages, like this is just, and hopefully everyone in this room that is writing JavaScript will relate to this, but how many times you go to upgrade something, there's a node module that you've been using that's not been upgraded in 18 months or longer. So with Expo as a organisation have got their official packages that they maintain and update. So like a pain point that we quite often have is React Native Maps, which I think was started by Airbnb, but it's now a community managed package, is not well maintained, I don't think. Whereas Expo are now building their own Expo Maps package. So in theory, that should be well maintained. So it'd improve upgrades and project robustness. So yeah, Expo is what we've started using as the past 6-7 weeks.
Cool, thank you.
I have a question. Analytics. So inside the React Native apps or the Expo apps, do you roll your own analytics, or do you use some sort of native system that Apple or Google, etc., provide? Do you know what I mean?
Good question, because there's many different ways to look at that. The stores have got both stores have got a level of opt-in analytics that they can provide you. So if you can go in and see, you can see install numbers, and if people opt in, you can see some usage statistics, crash logs to a point. Typically for that fine-grain tracking of users through actions they do or through journeys, we use a service called PostHog, which is very good. You get like a very generous free tier, and then the paid tier is reasonable, is what I can see. Never actually I don't think I've ever hit the paid tier amount. So PostHog's very good. We have rolled our own kind of tracking of things, like wrapping an app on a provider and then tracking events through it. So at the JavaScript side of our React Native app, PostHog, or we have our own little tracking thing that just sends up some JSON up to our backend. But the platforms actually do give you some degree of analytics as part of being an app. There's lots of services though. You can use Firebase for the analytics. You can use Mixpanel, like tons of services. And yeah, it's doing React Native should feel very familiar to someone who has written some React for the web.
Cool, thank you. I do have another question, but I'll not be greedy. Has anybody else got anything? Oh yeah.
What's your favourite app?
My favourite app? Oh. No, I don't have enough time for it. I mean, I wish it was. Favourite app? It's a difficult question. My most used app, right, screen time, would probably be something like Reddit or some other like place that I've just wasted a load of my time. Do you know what? I can go deep. It's the Photos app. Having a camera, or just things like, I guess you take it for granted now, but like 10, 15 years ago, you'd probably, if you wanted to have the things that you walk about with now, you'd have a GPS, a Walkman, a Game Boy, or maybe not 15 years ago, but a Nintendo DS and a MP3 player. But now you just take these things for granted. But having a phone is, a powerful thing.
Yeah.
Like 2 young kids taking photos all the time. Like it's, I guess that's a split between the camera app and the photo app. But
Okay, cool.
Oh.
You mentioned code push. I was wondering, like, how do you find, like, the update stories between web versus mobile app?
yeah, I mean, doing any project, I think it's important to have like your CI set up and have at least an approach and a repeatable process for getting your code out. For us on mobile, Fastlane is a very good tool to use to help you with your builds. Having something, whether it's GitHub Actions or Bitrise or Circle CI, something that's doing your builds, and through Fastlane you can send your output builds, your IPA and your ABB to the stores. Is like, it takes away a lot of the pain. The thing that you can't do is do things quickly. So we had a incident recently where we had a particular crash on 32-bit Android devices, and it was persistent crash that we had to get an app update out, and the bug fix itself was like 15 minutes, but then getting the app out was like another 6 hours. So for 6 hours, people on a 32-bit Android device, which was tiny slither of the total user base, couldn't use the app. Whereas on a web app, if you had a bug like that, you would just, 15-minute fix, 15-minute deploy.
I think that's what I was wondering about. It was like with a web app, user refreshes and they get, in most cases, get the latest version. Whereas with a mobile app, like there's that long tail rollout. Like, do you find that coming up? And
yeah, it's a problem. It's not just the process of you do the build. So the actual process of doing a build on the mobile app could take an hour. Doing the release, the process of the store, getting it through review and getting it out is one part of it. But then once the update's out, you're then dependent on users getting that update. So if the automatic update's turned on, that doesn't mean they get it as soon as it's released. It's a periodic update that will happen. So you could have users stuck on old versions. And a lot of people, a surprising number of people, turn off automatic updates. But I found out my wife did this. I think it was the Daily Mail app that, to my disgust, that she has on her phone. She said they updated it one time and she didn't like the update, so she turned automatic updates off for all the apps. So so people don't update. You can have somebody stuck in a version. That is a problem. And it's one of those things that you don't really consider in an app. Well, we have it built into the apps that we do, but a way to say, like sending up a version header with your requests so that the API can do a response to say, no, flag an update message, or something like that. You quite often you get people stuck on versions that you go to your usage logs, you're like, why the hell are they still in that version? Yeah. So as a pain point, as you say, people just refresh and they'll get new code on the web.
A question which I guess maybe people want to discuss at the pub later as well is a more general one related to development, not just mobiles. How are you finding the impact of AI? Are you using AI to help you build these things? And also, are you getting clients vibe coding, say, Expo apps or little web things and be like, oh, can you just fix the last little bit? It will be like a day's work or something like that because I've done most of it. Have you seen much impact there? Have you seen much impact in your own work?
Yeah. I would say generally for me it's been beneficial. But it's all about having a good process in place. Like for us as a team at AddJam, all our code that we work on doing pull requests for features that we're working on. So, and if we have, so our AI journey started probably similar to a lot of people using Copilot and VS Code. Then we started using Raycast and Raycast AI stuff, which is more generalist across the Mac. And then using Cursor, and now using Claude Code. But throughout that, you don't just blindly trust what, in fact, we're quite good as a team as well, picking up when someone has done it, that you see code getting committed with nonsensical or obvious comments above the line of code, or
I've implemented the thing you asked for.
exactly. Yeah. So we're quite strict on like if you're committing something, if you're going to put a PR with something, do you actually understand the code that you're doing? My workflow is using Claude Code, back and forth, using the plan mode, coming up with a plan, and then when I'm happy with Claude knowing the plan and writing a to-do markdown for itself, I might let it loose to go and do it. But then before I start committing things on Claude's behalf, I never let it commit by itself. I really do. I would review it, so it's getting a manual review. I think the danger is just blindly YOLO in it. But yeah, the agent stuff, we've not really used anything for like automatically. Like another thing we use is Sentry. If a Sentry crash comes in, you can use Sentry to like, let's get MCP stuff to kick off an issue onto GitHub to kick off. Like we've not really started doing any of that stuff, but I'm interested to know in the pub if anybody has done that. So yeah, like AI for me at the moment is a net positive. But yeah, sorry, as selfishly as good for me as someone who I would consider myself not a junior, but a junior developer, like what's the trajectory for them in the industry? Because a lot of the things I can pick up on AI doing badly is through experience or through more holistic knowledge about the context of where it's been used or past for the project. Or juniors won't have that experience and won't ever develop that experience if they're just living off of generated code. So as an industry, it's worrying. Ultimately, though, our days numbered to get more deep. Like what point? Anthropic doing Claude Code and not doing an IDE or is because they say you won't need to have a development environment in 18 months. So if you don't need a development environment, you need developers. So yeah, it's good at the moment, but where's things going? That's the sort of thing that needs a pint though to discuss.
Yes. Or some gin.
I was going to ask a quick question just about accessibility. A while back, 2 years ago, I made a React app, and it was just when Expo had maybe been around for a while, but yeah, it felt kind of newer 2 years ago. And the app we were building was an accessibility app for accessibility users to find accessible toilets around Glasgow, and it was really hard to make like the maps accessible, to make different parts of it accessible. So I don't know, have you ran into any things with accessibility that are worth commenting on? And do you think accessibility is better native or with the React Native stuff?
So accessibility, native versus React Native. React Native is actually pretty good. So you've got so the main things that you would be talking about accessibility wise, for me, like starting with the basics of adhering to the conventions of the platform. So on Android, the back button does a thing. On iOS, swiping from the left to the right does a thing. So like, there's conventions of the platform that, and React Native has got good support for that. Those foundations or the navigation paradigms of the platforms, and you can do platform-specific code. So if you want to do something just for Android, and an implementation for iOS is different. You can just do as part of the file name. You can do like button.ios.ts or button.android.ts, and that would target the separate platforms. React Native has got good support for accessibility labels. So VoiceOver, and VoiceOver is staggering to use. Like, have you ever seen someone with like a visual impairment using VoiceOver? It's amazing what they're capable of doing. VoiceOver is very good. So so you can support accessibility labels. Another big part of accessibility I find is again just like good choice of iconography, colors, same principles of good accessibility for the web and mobile. And then adhering to, for me, I would always adhere trying to support the native text scaling, so that your text renders correctly, which React Native supports quite well. So we've never really had a problem. Things with maps and specific maps, I don't think we've ever had an app that has been purely map-driven interface that we've, like even the toilet thing, you could still have like a list view that represents.
Yeah, that's what we ended up doing.
Sure. Or like the new kind of modern paradigm of having the bottom sheet, like the maps that you can pull up that's got the list inside it. And that the map sheet that we have used has got accessibility labels on the toggle and stuff. So yeah, I would say accessibility, as somebody who has no additional accessibility requirements for using a phone, so I'm not the best person to ask. But yeah, it's pretty good.
Cool, thank you very much. Any more takers? Going once, going twice. Okay, cool, well, another round of applause for Michael. I'll step in. We'll get cozy. Hello. I'll just stand here.
I'll go away.
Oh, okay then. I'm just aware of standing off of frame and talking to nobody. Cool. Yeah, so thank you all for coming. Quick, high-level, quick thing of the things I mentioned at the top. In fact, we'll make it audience participatory. Jamie, name one thing that I talked about at the start that you want me to bring up.
You can talk about going to the Scottish Technology Club webpage and signing up to the email bulletin.
Go to the Scottish Technology Web Club page and sign up on the QR code. I know the people at home couldn't hear you, but I will repeat everything. Do not worry. Good shout. Anybody else? You can just say it in one word. Pub? Someone said the pub. Yep, we're going to the pub. We're going to the Weatherspoons. Somebody else. I will start picking on people. I used to be a teacher. Patreon. If you can and you're able, sign up for the Patreon. Support Jamie and all the crazy work he does with all this sort of stuff. Anything else? Discord. Fantastic. We're getting there. Anything else? Excellent. I wonder if you were waiting to see if anybody else was mentioning Speaker Launchpad. But Speaker Launchpad is another fantastic thing. If you got the QR code at the start, great. If not, I'm sure James will share it either on the Discord or on there as well. Cool. I mentioned the toilets. That doesn't really matter anymore. I think that's mostly covered everything. But if not, scan the QR code. Okay, cool. Well, I think that is everything for just now. We don't need to be kicked out absolutely immediately, but I imagine people will start heading over to the pub because they can sit down in comfy chairs and have a drink. Cool. Yeah, I think that's everything. Feel free to have a quick, if you have any more pizza, any more drinks before you go. But thank you so much for coming. A round of applause for yourself.